Good evening. Today I'll be reviewing the JJRC H20H. This is a little nano hexacopter from JJRC. Get a little closer to the cam. These nanos are not that easy to see on cam. They're so small. This is, you can see it sit in my hand. It's a little bitty guy, but it's really cool. I like the kind of the bumblebee type look to it. Kind of sleek with that little hump across the top and JJRC on top. This is a really neat little hexacopter. Believe it or not, this is the first hexacopter I've ever owned of any size, so I'm really impressed with how it flies. It flies really nice. It has these yellow props in the front to help with orientation, so you know, I don't know how much you'll be able to see those during the day, but you know, it's nice they add a little extra to help with orientation. But really, the lights, the LEDs, are where it really helps the most. It's got two little red LEDs in the back on the circuit board here, and it's got two little blue ones in the front, and they don't really light the eyes up so much here on the front, but you can see them through here and the sides, and the red is really easy to see in the back. So I usually just look for the red. I'm mostly just flying this thing inside, but you can fly it outside too, especially if you're on the highest rate. It has a really fast yaw on the highest rate. On the low rate, a little pitch, the yaw is not very fast, but it's proportional. It goes up with each rate, and once you get the highest rate, it's way faster. Now I wouldn't say it's out of control, but it's close. It's almost like a little, UFO, I guess you could say, or a spinning, like a flying saucer or something. It just spins around, but as soon as you let up, it just goes right, almost immediately stops. So it's very easy to regain your orientation just by looking for the blue or the red lights. So I think it's actually really cool. I like to fly in highest rate and have it spin in circles like that. I'm getting a flight time on this of about 6 to 6.5 minutes, depending on what you're doing. More flips you're doing and stuff, you're going to use a little more battery. It has a 10-second low voltage alarm while the lights, the blue and red lights will flash. So it gives you just enough time to land. And if you're inside, not a big deal. Nanos never really have a really long low voltage alarm. It comes with this small but removable battery, which is a big bonus. It's 150 milliamp. Let's hope that focused in. I think it did. 150 milliamp, 1S LiPo, and the fact that it's removable is a big bonus, like I said, because you just slide this in the tray, and the sticker on this is a little bit off, so it's coming off a little bit. So sometimes it wants to catch it. I'm sliding it in. I should just pull it off, and then it just plugs in, and you're good to go. So when you're done flying, if you want to buy these spare batteries, I'm sure you can find these. I don't know if JJRC, I imagine they probably use this in the H20 also, a non-altitude hold, but I don't know if that's a removable battery. I don't own that one, but these should be no problem to find. I wouldn't think they won't be more than $1 or $2. So easy if you want to charge up 4 to 6 of these packs if you want to buy that many, and put it in your hexacopter, and you go out if you wanted to go somewhere, or just in your house, you got a bunch of flight time. But even more importantly, if your battery were to go bad, you don't have to worry about it. Many of these nanos, the battery's built in the bottom and it's not removable, so you have to either crack open the case and do some soldering, or and it's becoming more of a hassle than they're worth to even do it. But this, you don't have to worry about that. So I always like it when they include a removable battery in these nanos. You get just your common little components. You get a yellow USB charging cable. I think the light comes on, I believe, when it's finished. They always change these around. But anyway, you'll know when it's done. But it takes about half an hour to charge, so not too bad. Phillips screwdriver for making repairs. It comes with a full set of props, and it does come with the 2 yellow for replacing the front. You want to keep the color scheme. Let's look at the controller. Pretty standard nano size controller, similar, maybe a little bigger, but similar to like the CX10 Shearson uses. Pretty standard. It's got a throttle and, not throttle, pitch and a roll trim, I should say. And the throttle stick is self-centering, which you'd expect on a altitude hold hexacopter or quadcopter. I don't think I've mentioned yet except at the beginning it has altitude hold. But altitude hold really makes it good for flying indoors. So that's a, you know, I like that feature for flying indoors, because, you know, these nanos can get a little squirrely inside, and it's kind of hard if you're in a confined space. So the altitude hold really helps out a lot for flying indoors. So it does self-center, and but if you want to press it, you know, to start up the quadcopter, I took it upstairs, just going to try it out. I didn't look the instructions over. You know, I was being lazy, and I was like, how do you start this thing? You know, I was hitting all the buttons, going to figure it out. Because, you know, you usually have to unlock the motors on these altitude hold quads and hexes, and you have to actually press in on the throttle stick, and that will arm the motors and they will start to spin up. But it doesn't have any auto takeoff or auto landing, which is kind of a bummer. Not a deal breaker, but I like seeing that, because if you want to take off from something kind of higher up, like a table or something, you know, the auto takeoff would take you up, you know, probably 3 feet or so, and then you're still good to go and fly. But when you for this hexacopter, you have to give it the throttle yourself to go ahead and then give it the propellers to spin more, because they will spin up at a low rate, but not enough to make it get off the ground. And it's very easy. You just give the smallest amount and it just darts up. Now, it's rather sporty, but when you do that, you know, if you're up high on a table, it's very easy to have it slam into the ceiling, and you just don't want that to happen. So I've been taking off in the house. I'm in the house from the floor, which you'll see in my flight video when I fly it indoors in my basement. I tried to do it first time from my computer desk, and it just slammed into the ceiling. So that's just something to keep in mind. You need to take off from a low spot. You know, so if you have a good level low spot, like a hardwood floor or linoleum in your kitchen or something. The right button, you press that, and that enters it into headless mode, if you like to find headless mode. And I think it also has one key return, though I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Yeah, it does. At least the box says it does. And so I don't mess with that, especially on a Nano. But I think once you're in headless mode, then the one key return is also then activated by pressing that again, and then you cancel it with the throttle. I believe that's the case. Don't hold me to it, because I don't use that feature. Let's see, the top right bumper is for doing your 3D flips, and it does 3D flips exceptionally well. I don't know if it's because it has 6 propellers compared to the 4, but or if it's just an altitude hold, but it does flips. It's probably the best of any Nano that I own, and I have several. So I really like the 3D flips on this. The top left button here is for your rates, and it's got 3 rates. And like I said, the yaw increases. I like to fly in the medium or the high rate. The low rate is, pretty sluggish and really slow yaw, so it's be hard to turn around and do what you want to do in a confined area. To calibrate the gyros, you just push the sticks down and to the right until the lights quit flashing, and to recalibrate the headless mode direction for one key return is down to the left, and the lights flash and they look like they were the same. They're not. Usually you see the lights flash in a different pattern for one of those two. They both do the same, so but at least they do tell you which one's which, so you don't have to do the headless mode or guess and do both. I think that covers all the transmitter stuff. It's pretty basic, so not a whole lot to these Nanos. So like I said, altitude hold works pretty good, but the yaw is really quick on the highest rate. So if you're just a beginner, you may not want to try that rate until you get accustomed to flying with it. The prop guards work pretty good. I don't know if they're removable. I see a little spot for a Phillips screwdriver, which is probably why they included it. It does kind of look to me like these would be removable, so that would reduce some weight. I've not obviously messed with trying to get out. I don't know if we can focus in. If it'll focus in, you can see those Phillips little screwdriver heads there. But that might be to take these off, because I think the propellers just slide on and off. But these work pretty well, so I would recommend leaving them on. But if you want to take them off, you're get a little more flight time. But I think 6 to 6.5 minutes is not bad anyway. So I would recommend leaving them on. Like I said, I bumped into stuff and it holds its position, but there's times where if you get a little bit out of control and you hit something, it'll go crazy and fall, like every single Nano that anybody's ever flown will do. But when I've done, the highest yaw rate, and I'm spinning around really quick, a few times I've had it kind of like all of a sudden kind of raise its altitude up on me and start banging into the ceiling. Now, I didn't do it in my test flight. It doesn't do it often, but I don't know if it's confusing the barometer or it's just some sort of weird little thing. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a glitch because I did not crash from it. I was able to bring it down. It just didn't want to come down immediately. It kind of wanted to hug the ceiling. It was actually hitting my vent in the basement, so it was a smooth surface, so it was able to keep itself under control and not slam into stuff. So, well, I think that pretty much covers everything. I just kind of checked my notes here. I think I covered everything. So, like I said, I think I discussed there was no auto takeoff or auto landing. I'm pretty sure I did say that. I just want to reiterate it because that is a nice feature, and that would be the biggest knock against that I have. I wish they would have included that, just because it makes it a lot easier to take off, especially if you're up, and you want to take off from a higher vantage point than having to mess with it on the floor. So that would be nice to see. So, well, I think that wraps it up. So let's go ahead and we'll move along to the flight review. Okay, let's get to the flight review of the JJRC H20H. This cool little Nano Hexacopter. Really like the look of it. Cool little thing. Flies really nice too. I'm kind of in a confined area here in my basement. Got a light set up. The weather's not been cooperating lately. Got a lot of storms, and it's not too easy to see these nanos outside for a flight review anyway. So hopefully this will turn out okay. But I warn you that right now that there's a very good chance I probably will crash. So it's not so much that it's the quadcopter. It's just this more confined area, and I'm not the greatest pilot of a nano inside. But if you fly this on the highest rate, it can get it's a pretty smooth flyer, has a really quick yaw. So, but it's still easy to keep your orientation when you let up because you've got bright red LED in the back and blue in the front. But you just spot that red, get that oriented how you're used to. If you're used to looking at the tail, then that helps get your orientation back. So, it's a cool little quadcopter. Now, you do have to arm the motors by pressing down on the throttle stick, and then they spin up. But it has no auto takeoff or auto landing, which is kind of a bummer. I would like to see that because taking off of this, you have to give it the little throttle, and it does have a tendency to just kind of want to dart up. So I'm going to take off from the floor here on this piece of plastic that I used underneath my computer table for the wheels on my computer chair. So if I try to take off here from the table, this would be perfect for filming, but it's just too high, and you give a throttle and you end up going to the ceiling. So I would recommend always taking off on the floor with this quadcopter when you're, this hexacopter, I should say, and you're flying indoors. If you're outside, and it should be no problem, and it just flies really well. I really do like it a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on here and bind it, and we'll get it up for some flight footage. The on and off switch here in the back is kind of small, but not too hard to turn on. And you can see those bright LEDs, blue in the front, red in the back. I just look for that red to help orientate me. It's the easiest to see, a little easier to see than the blue. So I'm going to go ahead and set it down here on the floor and turn the controller on. You do your normal binding up, down. I believe though, the instructions are not real clear on that, so you may just wait. It's very possible you just wait about a second, and then just whenever the lights go solid on the hexacopter, like right now, then you know that it's bound and it's ready to fly. So I'm not sure about that binding procedure. Like I said, the instructions manual is very small, and it does cover most everything. Obviously it does cover calibration and stuff, which I went over in the review earlier. But I'll go ahead and do a gyro calibration. That's down and right until it's done flashing. You can do a headless mode, down and left, if you want to do both of them. But I don't use headless mode, so. Anyway, let's go ahead and unlock the props. Pressing down, they all spin up. Like I said, usually now you would hit a button and it'd take off, and that gives you, a good height to start. And I'd like to have seen that, but as far as I can see, I have not been able to find an auto takeoff. So you just gotta give it a little bit of throttle. And there, see, now that worked perfect. But if I were taking off from the table there, my computer desk, I would have slammed into the ceiling. It's a little bit noisy, not terrible, but you got 6 motors, so you expect that. Now, Here's the yaw, really slow on beginner or low rate, but it's rather easy to control. And if you get any kind of drafts in your house, you have a fan or air conditioning or heater vent come on with air, you know, it's going to make it even harder to control on lowest rate because there's so little pitch, it gets blown around pretty easy. But that's the case with any Nano. So I'm going to go ahead and press the left bumper here, and that's 2 beeps, and take it up to the middle rate, medium rate. You can see the yaw increases, it's a little sportier, there's more pitch, and that's a pretty good one for flying indoors. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the highest rate because the yaw is pretty cool on that, and it's a little sportier, a little easier to crash indoors too. So we'll go for 3 beeps. I'm going to get it out here, and you can see the yaw really spins cool. I like that. But when you let up, it stops quick, and you easily can see the rear here in the red. I got a little bit of drift going, so I might need a little bit of forward trim there on the pitch, and it looks pretty stable now. So I'm going to fly it here a moment in the highest rate. I like how quick it is to turn on the yaw. But I think for a lot of people, especially if you're in a kind of a confined area like myself here with not a whole lot of space, that the intermediate or medium rate is probably going to be one of the better ones for flying indoors. But I just really like that yaw. That's cool. Kind of like a flying saucer. But it's so stable that you know you can gain control with no problem. Now I'm getting about 6.5 minutes of flight with this. It's got about a 10-second low voltage alarm. Let's slide around here and see if I can bring it around my pole and bring it back. I'll just do it the easy way and not even turn and yaw. Like I said, it's kind of easy to crash these Nanos when you're in just a small area, but the prop guards seem to do a pretty good job. I've had it bump into the vents and stuff here, and it regain control. Sometimes though, when you hit it like any Nano, it'll lose control and go squirrely, and it just crashes and you can't regain control. When you do that really fast yaw though, for a long time, I have no problems today, but there have been times where I've gone to that really crazy fast yaw like that, and then tried to come back, and it's kind of wanted to gain altitude on me, and like was riding into the top of this vent up here, and I had trouble getting it back to come back down. So I think maybe that really fast yaw might somehow confuse the barometer. I don't know. It's not doing it today, and it's not something that I see it do very much. So let's see if we can do a few flips. Now, like I said, I don't have much room here, so if I crash, it's just because of the limited room. I believe it will rise up. So let's go ahead and do it. And it does. As long as you're not too close to the ceiling, it works fine. It's just so stable. And it just flips really well. I love this thing. I think it's around 20 bucks. I mean, you just can't beat it for a cool little toy. Especially if you're like me and you just love, drones, quadcopters, hexacopters, and you want to fly in the wintertime when the weather's not going to always cooperate, or want something to fly at the office or something, or on days like tonight where the weather's really cruddy outside, then this is something you definitely want to look into, especially for the price. So it is cool. I'm going to go ahead and drop it down. There's the lowest rate again. Really slow on the yaw. Not much pitch. There's intermediate or medium rate. Let's see, just about slammed into the pole there. Sometimes it wants to rise a little bit, but the altitude hold works pretty good. So you can see it's real stable. I mean, I'm putting my hands around here. I mean, it's losing a little altitude now. Other times it'll raise a little bit, but it works pretty darn good, especially for the price. Really can't complain. Alright, so we're getting a low voltage alarm now, so probably somewhere around that 6-minute mark. I've gotten 6.5 minutes sometimes, and it's going to go ahead and land here and turn itself off. So not a real long low voltage alarm, but that's pretty common on these Nanos. So, alright, well, I hope you enjoyed the review, and be sure to subscribe, and I've got some other really cool stuff coming, like the flying Halloween skull, which
I don't know if I'll have that up before or after this review, but if you have not seen it, make sure you check that review out, because that's a great gift for Halloween. So take care and happy Halloween to everybody.